suggesting this is something you might want to try.
I think also having like they want young adults, I agree, like want to be asked what they want, but also be able to, like I've sat in a room with a young adult and asking that question, but I don't think that they feel like being able to actually say that is safe. And so preparing the people around them to be able to kind of hear what they want and support them in that versus kind of right away questioning them, being like, well, like, you know, kind of throwing all these things at them, being like, well, is this really going to work out, and not really hearing them is an important piece.
I think that's where the building the relationship with the client, the young adult comes in. As an ICC, one of the things that I tend to do a lot with my young adult, if they're interested in sports, hey, I'm interested in sports, and I'll do whatever I have to do with them. And I won't just go to their house and just sit there and talk to them about something. Let's go out to the park, let's go play basketball, let's go for a jog, let's go do something. And as we're doing that activity, then we bring it in and start talking about the subject. And to start to build that trust seems to be very, very important for them, for everyone, I think.
I think family partners actually need to do some work with families about stepping back, for sure. I would have given my right out to have somebody take my son and just figure it out with him instead of being involved in it. Because I think he would have been much more successful sooner than he is now, or than he was.
I think there's another piece for parents that I don't hear talked about, or that at least I think as family partners, if we can acknowledge the parents' feelings, and one of them, at least for me, was grief and sadness, whether that's valid or not, whether, you know, my daughter's a great girl, but that was a feeling I had because I didn't think she was living up to my expectations, and I felt very sad. And I've talked to other parents, some of my staff who've been through this who feel the same way, and I don't hear that mentioned anywhere. So I just want to say that's something for family partners to just take a look at. Because I think when we acknowledge people's feelings, it really helps. It helps then move to some other place.
And the reality is, although, and I hear this all the time, and even here, people have been super supportive and said, oh, he's going to come through it. You don't have to worry. Like, it's really going to, and it's like, yeah, but last night he didn't come home, and anything could have happened. And I think that especially in the community that we work in, it could mean that he just slept over a friend's house and things are all good, or it could mean a completely different thing. And so it is very hard as a parent and to watch parents go through the unknown, because the reality is there could have been danger or an issue or something that takes them to the prison system, which will take, you know, another 4 years to get resolved. So it's not like they're just going to come through it and, you know, the worst that could happen is a wonderful grandchild. That isn't always the reality.
That's right.
And so I think that honoring that fear, just like the grief, the reality is that there's fear, and parents are like trying to save their life. They're not just, it's not just about like, oh, you're making some really poor choices and this could take you a lot longer and school should have been a good option. You're talking about, you know, involved in gang activity or drug activity, or, you know, hurting themselves, hurting other people, you know, leaving themselves as targets. A lot of the youth that we work with, that emotional disturbance allows people to prey on them very easily. And so we have a lot of young ladies that come through that are, you know, they're active in different ways, and you wonder, is it her choice? Does she really understand? You know, when she leaves at 10 o'clock at night and she doesn't come home in the morning, what was happening? And it's not easy to go in a household and say to that mom, like, it's okay, she's gonna do better. So she's like, okay. But I have to take her to the hospital this morning to find out what happened last night. So it's not just that little bit of unknown, and it's sometimes really panic and fear, and like something has to shift right away because there's a safety concern. And for me and with my son, I often worry about the safety concern piece. And he showed up the other morning, and he was like on the porch until it was a good time to ring the doorbell. And I came downstairs, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, I was riding a bike, and the police pulled me over, and said it was stolen, but it wasn't, Mom. And so I came here. And I was like, yeah, because you got scared. But all the times that I'm scared, you don't, you know, I'm scared that that's not going to be what happens. You know, that it isn't going to be that pretty. So I think that that's an important thing to think about in the communities that we're working in. Like sometimes there's really justified fear and the need for us, like a immediate safety plan, because youth are like taking it to the extreme, or may not even be the ones taking it to the extreme, but around people that are taking it to the extreme.
Absolutely, and it's not just they're making poor choices and you have to let go. There's much more to it, and just acknowledging those feelings and understanding can mean so much to a parent.
I'm gonna plug a book that I just read this past week. I actually was on vacation, so I got to read. And I don't know if anybody's read Brene Brown and any of her stuff, but it's a book called I Thought It Was Just Me, and in parentheses, but it isn't. It's really focused on women, but it talks a lot. It's amazing. It's not a psychobabble book. It seriously will change the way I move forward in my life. It talks a lot about shame, and I think as much as we talked about expectations for children, that children feel there's expectation put on mothers and parents about, like you said, I failed as a mother. This is the expectation in society for me as a mother to bring up a kid that does this, this, and this. And highly recommend it. So easy read, and will really, I think, help with parents, working with parents.
I used to always use, and when you just said that, I used to tell my son all the time, like, I love you, I think you're great, but I'm expected to make you look good on paper. I used to say that to him all the time. Like, it was my mantra. Like, I think, yes, it's great to be this free spirit, and he had a Connors assessment when he was like 10, and they said he had a personality that would try anything from the time he was little, because I could tell that it was what was going on, and they said he would try anything once, and I was like, great. But I used to always say that to him, like, it's my responsibility. Can you imagine what your transcript looks like? And I'm talking to like a 12-year-old. So you just said that to me, and he's looking at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I thought it made perfect sense. You did. Yeah, to me.
I want to just speak to, ask a question regarding the anger of not the anger, but the grief and the sorrow when your children do what you don't expect them to do or what you hope them to do, because my story is so similar, just like correlates with yours, like to the T almost. My babies, I have 3 boys, and my baby son, his dream was to go to St. John's, and he did for 1 year, and he found out what New York was all about. And 40-something thousand later, he's at home now, and he thought that from St. John's, then he traveled to ASA, another school in Brooklyn, that he could accelerate his classes because he could go to school really quick and do this thing really fast. And there wasn't dorms on the campus, so he had to live off campus, and we had to drive away and leave him in a apartment and all this. And mid-school year, we absolutely had to get up out of our bed, my husband and I, get in the car and drive to New York and get him. And so now it's just, he's, Mom, what are you telling me? I don't understand this. Why do you want me to do this? Well, I said, it's not that I want you to do it, I want you to be successful. And so now he's just it's all bottled up, everything is all bottled up in him. And 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in my office, and I was in the office talking to one of my staff, and I saw my son. His hair, you know how neat he is. His hair he's got growing out his hair. He's growing a goatee, you wouldn't even believe. And I saw him standing around the door, and his little hair sticking out. He's at home though, you know, he's okay. But as he comes around, he has a little baby in his arm. And I go, he said, Mom, meet your granddaughter, Maya. I was,
Wait, what?
so because there was someone else in my office, I had to keep my, you know, composure, and then as he walked around, she walked around. And I said, phew. I said, so, hi, where did you come from? And so, you know, so I have a 3-month-old granddaughter. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's a spitting image of my son. And my question is, what do you do? I can deal with grief. I can deal with sorrow. As you, I have, my husband and I were pastors. I can deal with it all. I have a faith that I feel is like a rock. But what do you do with the anger? What do you do with the anger? You know, I mean, you know, you just, I'm so mad. I am absolutely mad at him, and I have not been able to tell him that I'm very, nor her, for keeping this bundle of joy to just say, here, you have a 3-month-old. I'm very angry. How do you know, what do you do?
Well, I can only say for myself, I was also very angry a number of times. Yeah. Extremely angry. And I kind of had to learn the hard way that talking to my daughter when I was really angry was not necessarily going to be very